Hello Libra, welcome to Ultra Instinct Tarot. My name is Andres and I will be taking care of you for this reading. So I will be using these three books as I really like the words that they use. We'll be using the Waite Tarot, the OSHO Zen Tarot, as well as this Thoth Tarot. They're all talking about the same thing, just in different languages. Alright, so the whole goal for this channel is to find our own Ultra Instinct. So we're just gonna go with the flow and get started. We're gonna start over here. And we're starting with the Hierophant. Alright. The Hierophant is kind of like a teacher to me. He's kind of like our higher self, but the teacher version of our higher self. Knows a lot more than us tiny little humans do. Hierophant is all about tradition, organizations, education. The Hierophant is wise and respected teacher. He connects heaven and earth and understands that in this complex game of life, everything has its role. So every little thing matters. From the tiniest bee to the great emperor himself, we all have our parts to play. Given this knowledge, it is natural for him to appreciate and uphold the social structures that keep everything in harmony and order. So he's the one that kind of sees things from up higher and sees that there's a reason for everything that happens. So what can we learn from that? What can we learn from looking at things in a different perspective, a higher perspective? That everything, as chaotic as it seems, is in the order that it needs to be. Sorrow, and he has his back towards this Hierophant. So it seems like you might be seeing things completely different from the Hierophant. Because when we think, we're not supposed to be here, when we think that everything that happens to us isn't supposed to be happening, then of course there will be sorrow. We will be sad. We will not have a good time. So it seems like it would serve a lot to not turn our back towards the Hierophant and see what we can learn or try to understand why things are the way that they are. So this image is of Ananda, the cousin and disciple of Gautama the Buddha. He was at Buddha's side constantly, attending to his every need for 42 years. When Buddha died, the story is told that Ananda was still at his side weeping. The other disciples chastised him for his misunderstanding. Buddha had died absolutely fulfilled. He should be rejoicing. But Ananda said, "You misunderstand. I'm weeping not for him, but for myself, because for all these years I have been constantly at his side, but I have still not attained." Ananda stayed awake for the whole night, meditating deeply and feeling his pain and sorrow. By the morning, it is said, he was enlightened. Times of great sorrow have the potential to be of times of great transformation. But in order for transformation to happen, we must go deep to the very roots of our pain and experience it as it is, without blame or self-pity. Yeah, so see why that sadness is there. See the reason for it. Try to understand it. Instead of trying to turn your back on it, because that just will not make things better. Even though it might make things better at the moment, it'll eventually come back. This pain is not to make you sad, remember. That's where people go on missing. This pain is just to make you more alert. Because people become alert only when the arrow goes deep into their heart and wounds them. Otherwise, they don't become alert. When life is easy, comfortable, convenient, who cares? Who bothers to become alert? When a friend dies, there is a possibility. When your woman leaves you alone, those dark nights, you are lonely. You have loved that woman so much and you have staked all, and then suddenly one day she is gone. Crying in your loneliness, those are the occasions when, if you use them, you can become aware. The arrow is hurting. It can be used. The pain is not to make you miserable. The pain is to make you more aware. And when you are aware, misery disappears. So gotta see the full circle. Instead of this very, very present point that is going on that's making you sad. Oppression. Yeah, more sadness. The 10 of Wands. You're tired of this. Tired of this sadness. Don't want to feel it anymore. So for the sadness to go away, face it and understand why it's there. And then after you face it, everything will kind of be very straightforward, and it'll be obvious of why it's there and what you want. The 10 of Wands. Oppression. So this is Saturn and Sagittarius. And this is the lowest of the low of the Tree of Life for the fire. So it's the fire Tree of Life, and this 10 of Wands is the lowest of the low. So that's probably where you're feeling at. So you kind of see how this would be God up here, our home, and this kind of see how it's distorted. So there's a distortion in life right now. So all factors conspire to make this an altogether unpleasant card. Saturn's iron heel brutally pins poor Sagittarius, the lightest and most ethereal of the fire signs, to the floor of inflexible Malkuth, which is the 10. If zodiac signs could dream, the 10 of Wands would be Sagittarius' worst nightmare. Harris basically follows the Golden Dawn model with this card, and is meticulously faithful to the color scales. Her 10 of Wands is an explosive and suffocating image of oppression and repression. Crowley writes that Malkuth depends from the other 9 Sephiroth, but is not directly in communication with them. It has become a blind force, so the most violent form of that particular energy, without any modifying influences. Blind force, Crowley points out, in the Suit of Wands meets fire in its most destructive aspect. So there goes that repeating message of, it's not directly in communication with them, just like this guy isn't in communication with his Hierophant, which is, this is your guardian angel right here. So the whole picture suggests oppression and repression. It is a stupid and obstinate cruelty from which there is no escape. It is will which has not understood anything beyond its dull purpose, its lust of result, and will devour itself in the conflagrations it has provoked. So there's that understand word again. So really try to understand what's going on, instead of not facing it and being in your sorrow. And the Ace of Swords. Ooh, that's a nice little turn. So if this is the sword tree of life, the Ace of Swords would be the god of the swords. So kind of if you want to see these as, you know, one bird, this is where all of the birds would be. And the swords is of the mind. So the magician holds this sword in the magician card. And that means he knows his truth. He understands, you know, who he is. You know, if the mind kind of separates things, you know, cuts things and puts it in its own little boxes. But he doesn't do that just to hurt. He's doing that so he can understand, you know, there's this tree and then this tree and then that tree and then that tree. So he's kind of separating them so that he can observe each and understand each. Just like we kind of separate ourselves, our body, you know, this is my hand, this is my finger, this is my fingernail. I'm separating them from myself, but it's just to understand them a little more. So there might be a separation that's happening or happened. But the separation is only so you can understand either yourself or the thing that's being separated from you. So the Ace of Swords is the primordial energy of air, the essence of the Va in the Tetragrammaton, the integration of the Ruach. The Ace of Swords is the root of the element air and represents the Ruach, which is the intellect part of the soul. And according to Eastern mystics, the mind is the great enemy. The mind violently resists identification with any higher levels of consciousness. Consequently, from out of the mind springs conflict, frustration, anxiety, worry, and sorrow. Is it any wonder the suit of swords is filled with so many unpleasant cards? However, in the proper hands, the sword can be the weapon that cuts through the crap, and the Ace of Swords is the sword of the Magus, crowned with the 22-rayed diadem of pure light. In Magic, a book written by Crowley, he describes the sword as the hilt of the sword should be made of copper. The guard is composed of the two crescents of the waxing and the waning moon, back to back. So, we're starting about right here. Spheres are placed between them, forming an equilateral triangle with the sphere of the pommel. The blade is straight, pointed, and sharp, right up to the guard. It is made of steel to equilibrate with the hilt, for steel is the metal of Mars, as copper is of Venus. The hilt is Venus, for love is the motive of this ruthless analysis. If this were not so, the sword would be a black magical weapon. The pommel of the sword is in Thoth. The guard extends to Jased and Geburah. The point is in Malkut. So as you can see here, the pommel of the sword is in Thoth. The guard extends to Jased and Geburah. And the point is in Malkut. So it seems like you're gonna start getting to the point of all this sorrow. Yeah, there's a breakthrough coming. You had enough. When you understand, you'll finally break through that wall. This is number 11. The predominance of red in this card indicates at a glance that its subject is energy, power, and strength. The brilliant glow emanates from the solar plexus, or center of power on the figure, and the posture is one of exuberance and determination. All of us occasionally reach a point when enough is enough. Yeah. At such times, it seems we must do something, anything, even if later it turns out to be a mistake, to throw off the burdens and restrictions that are limiting us. If we don't, they threaten to suffocate and cripple our very life's energy itself. If you are now feeling that enough is enough, allow yourself to take the risk of shattering the old patterns and limitations that have kept your energy from flowing. In doing so, you'll be amazed at the vitality and empowerment this breakthrough can bring to your life. To transform breakdowns into breakthroughs is the whole function of a master. The psychotherapist simply patches you up. That is his function. He is not there to transform you. You need a meta-psychology, the psychology of the Buddhas. It is the greatest adventure in life to go through a breakdown consciously. It is the greatest risk because there is no guarantee that the breakdown will become a breakthrough. It does become, but these things cannot be guaranteed. Your chaos is very ancient. For many, many lives you have been in chaos. It is thick and dense. It is almost a universe in itself. So when you enter into it with your small capacity, of course there is danger. But without facing this danger, nobody has ever become integrated. Nobody has ever become an individual, indivisible. Zen or meditation is a method which will help you go through the chaos, through the dark night of the soul. Balanced, disciplined, alert. The dawn is not far away, but before you can reach the dawn, the dark night has to be passed through. And as the dawn comes closer, the night will become darker. Yeah, there's definitely, that's kind of, it's a nice card to pull. The Eight of Swords. Still not seeing. Alright, so in the Tree of Life, we're back with the swords. 8 is right here, so it's still pretty low in the Tree of Life. It's a sphere of energy. Splendor is the key word. Eight of Swords. What's happening after the breakthrough? You're not letting this breakthrough happen. See how there's a red gown, and this is the red that they were talking about in that last card. So you gotta take this sword, start cutting up those, so you can see what's going on, and let out that breakthrough. Yeah, this is entrapment, self-victimization, imprisonment. But you're doing it to yourself at this point now. Surrounded, the fool feels victimized, powerless, and trapped. She may be in a situation that feels inescapable. Her lack of agency makes her situation worse. She gives up any opportunity to make it better. What blinds her is self-imposed. She removes the blindfold that prevents her from recognizing her power and taking responsibility. She could escape this dire situation. Yeah, there's something that needs to be said. Kind of started hiccuping a little bit. That you don't want to say it. You keep making yourself smaller. You keep not wanting to say it. But saying whatever you need, whatever's going through your mind is going to release. You can do it. Yeah, see there's that red again over here. So you already know. Just time to understand and cut it yourself. Cut these bandages yourself so you can be free. Yeah, look at that red. They're all wearing red. Take control. Understand. Everything happens for a reason. Got this, Libra. Let's get some final words from the Office Oracle deck. I think we want one from the bottom and from the top. Yeah. I think this is number 18. So this card is all about today. I don't know if you remember, they were at the company picnic and he saw Holly and he really wanted to tell her how he felt, but he ended up not doing it. So take things slow if you need to. Here's this card. I'll read what I wrote about this card. Today is just about having today. It's going to take a long time and then it's perfect. You're in no rush. You're eternal, so you got literally all of the time in the world. So just trust. If you have patience, it means you are still waiting for something that's not happening. So go one step further and let go of that patience. A person with no patience is completely here today. They don't wait for anything, as there's nothing to wait for. Today is already here. Everything that is happening is supposed to be happening. No rush. Today is just about having today. It's very important, especially if you're feeling sorrowful. You know, if there's something that's going on that you turn your back to. And this is going to help with the breakthrough because it landed right on top. Yeah, there's a tower moment. There's something that needs to break down in order to rise up like the phoenix from the ashes. Yeah, this is a good card too. Alright, so this is a quote from Pop. It's just a mistake. That's what this tower is all about, mistakes. And if you're afraid of screwing up, then this tower isn't for you. We all screw up. Tower mistakes, don't be afraid of screwing up. And if you already have made a mistake, just forgive yourself and move on. Rise up like the phoenix from the ashes. Yeah, I think that's exactly what you need to do. Yeah, rise up. Look at that. Literally rising up. Alright, time to see it straightforward. See the whole truth. And get excited for what's to come by being here today and knowing exactly what's going on here today. Alright, I'm gonna leave you here, Libra. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.